I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
All right. Welcome back, everyone, to episode number 43 of the Best Thing We've Seen podcast. My name is Flo.
And as always, I'm Gabe. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good, man. How you doing?
Tired. As always.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's an issue that has come up before, that if we want to talk about certain things that are released during the week, we have to sort of watch it on the day it's coming out, just so that we can talk about it, right?
Yeah.
And that leads to a bit of stress. And then my issue is that I've seen two things this week, and I haven't been able to process any of them, or either of them, I should say. So this has been a weird week because I've only watched two things this week, right? And I just asked you before we started recording. You said you had three. Was that third thing something that you had seen like a week ago, or was that also something you saw yesterday?
I saw it pretty much a week ago, and I was very lucky to find something else to talk about as well. Just also to have a backup, but yesterday, two of the things that we both watched came out, and we also had kind of a game night late at night, and I didn't get to watch the second film until very late. So I didn't have a lot of time to process the film either, so I don't know.
Interesting in hearing what you saw late. Like, what was the one that you saw first, and what was the one? Do you want to? I mean, you don't want to say it now, do you? Okay, yeah.
Well, we can just go out and tell you what the two films are, I guess.
Well, it's on the cover, but let's wait just a little bit, because
all right,
it's going to be very interesting to me. How, like, I don't know what your pick is going to be.
To be honest, I don't know either.
Yeah. Well, I think. Is there anything else we should talk about? I want to say one thing. The Netflix thing with the trailers is still an issue. I don't know why they are so difficult with this. Every other studio or distributor has been sort of checked now. We're able to play trailers off of them, but Netflix not yet. I don't know why. Once again, maybe we're going to talk about some at least one Netflix thing today, and maybe we'll be able to insert the trailer after our recording. Maybe we'll get the get-go then, but I very much doubt it. So I'm still working on that. Unfortunately, it might not be. We might not be able to play the Netflix trailer today, but yeah. That's all the updates I have on that.
Well, it could make our pick a bit easier to know which one would be more trailer friendly.
Yes. Yes. And also maybe you noticed a few changes on the cover design. I mean, I say that now not knowing what the final design is going to look like, but it's definitely going to look a bit more colorful, right? We can say that.
Sure, yeah.
I've tweaked some things. More vibrant, yes. I've tweaked some things, and we ran some polls on our Instagram and on Twitter, and thank you to everyone who participated in that. And the results have been pretty clear, but as I said, we it's still not, like, I still haven't made the design, the final cover, so we'll see how it turns out, and please let us know what you think about it.
Yeah, please do.
But please, Gabe, I started like rambling from like minute one. Please tell everyone what the show is about.
Yeah, so if you're new to the show, we are going to talk about the best thing that we've seen all week, just like the title kind of implies. So every week we look out for the best thing that we've seen, preferably something from the last 6 months. It could be anything from a TV show to a film to a YouTube video even. And yeah, we're gonna maybe start off with some honorable mentions and then proceed to our best thing pick, which is also going to be preceded by a trailer if it's not a Netflix film so far.
I thought about this. Wouldn't you agree that it would be nicer to play the trailer like a bit further on during the discussion, because then people sort of know what we're talking about, or what to expect.
And maybe give a bit of a summary and then play the trailer, right?
Play the summary, play the trailer, and then talk about it some more.
Yeah, sure. I think we talked about this before, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so it's my turn to pick first, and I have no idea how we're going to do this. Because you don't know what your pick is going to be.
Me neither, no. So
no,
maybe
I didn't say that I didn't know. I'm just saying, like, I was asking you. You don't know, right? So
there's so much speaking for both of these films. So spoiler alert, they're both films. But
wow. What's your third thing?
Yeah, my honorable mention is a short film that I discovered quite on accident. I am subscribed to Omeleto. I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's
delicious
Omeleto.
with some salt and pepper.
Yes, maybe some onions. Yeah,
sure.
Perfect. No, Omeleto, omelette. I don't know how to pronounce it. Omeleto. I'm just gonna call it that. It's a YouTube channel, and it's a platform where the proprietor. I think the name.
Oh, what a name!
I know. Got a list of verbs.
What a word, I should
words,
say.
Yeah. But yeah, the person who kind of has this channel posts a lot of short films, anything from animation to drama to comedy. A lot of award-winning shorts, also Oscar winners and Sundance and whatever. They're featured, and they got some very cool stuff. I don't watch as many as I used to when I discovered the channel, but there was one that kind of caught my eye. It was called A Night in Camp Heebie Jeebie. Sounds great.
What a random pick again. Yeah, I love it.
Well, it's a short film. It's an animated film. It's about 6 minutes long, so there's not that much that I can talk about because, well, the whole film is quite short. But it's about a group of Girl Scouts who are in Camp Heebie-Jeebie, and they kind of start telling horror stories, as one would, around the campfire. And the stories kind of get weird and weirder. They try to trump each other's story with weird things, and everybody goes like, no, that's not scary. Let me tell the story. And then some shenanigans ensue, and it's got a kind of a funny mixture of very funny scenes and some horror, but like, horror made for like a kid's movie.
Right.
And I think just the animation style is just so funny and so cute because they're like pretty much just blocks on little sticks for hands and legs.
Yeah.
Which makes him look so cute. And the animation is so well done, and it looks like it could have been done by a professional studio, which it wasn't as far as I'm aware. It looks like a bit of a mixture of animation and stop motion.
So it's not the guy who runs the channel who did this?
No, he just posts the videos.
Okay.
I think it's by a man, Dylan Chase, I think his name was. I have
I'm looking
not
through
heard
his channel
of anything.
now. It's Dylan Chase. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and well, Omeleto's got different kind of subcategory channels. So it's Omeleto, the basic one. Then you got Omeleto drama, Omeleto comedy, whatever. And this was on the normal channel.
Okay.
And definitely check it out. I think the way I kind of found out about the channel is I found a video about a Western narrator in a bar who kind of tries to get everybody killed.
Right.
Narrated by Nick Offerman, who kind of
course
tells all the characters who are sitting in the bar who can hear the narrator things about the other patrons, so they kind of get into a fight, which is a very funny video as well. So yeah, check it out.
Do you want to spell it?
Omeleto, sure.
Yeah.
Omeleto.
That's correct.
Thank you. Why wouldn't it?
Yeah. There's that the guy Reggie, is it Watts on James Corden's late night show, where he asks the one of the guests a question each night, and he always ends it like with "That's correct." It's the most random question, like, "What did you have for breakfast today?" or whatever, and they say, "Yeah, well, I had that," and that's the correct answer.
Does he like have a camera in his house or what?
No, yeah, I got you. No, yeah, that's the joke, I guess, right?
I guess, yeah.
I think it's Reggie Watts. Yeah, it is Reggie Watts, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's kind of an honorable mention for the start, which is a great little short film. Could have been maybe my pick, but this is just such a strong week with
it is a strong
very,
week.
Very heavily anticipated films. So, yeah, you want to start us off with something that's not going to be your pick, and I'm going to make a snap decision if it's going to be my pick.
Dude, I have no idea what I'm going to do. This has been a struggle for me.
Yeah.
Because I'll try and keep it short, right? But I want to say what's going on in my mind. So we're going to talk about Mank and The Sound of Metal.
Mm-hmm.
And Mank is directed by my favorite director, David Fincher. And when that movie was first announced, first of all, I was delighted because my favorite director hasn't made a movie in over 6 years. And well, when it was announced, it was 5 years. It was Gone Girl.
Right, it's like ages ago, yeah.
Gone Girl came out in 2014. And since then, he has directed episodes of shows and he produced some shows, but he's not done a movie. So when I heard that David Fincher is finally going to return and direct a movie, I was like, oh yes. Then I heard what it was about. And it is about the screenwriter of Citizen Kane, one of the, well, what's the word? Like, apparently one of the best movies ever made. Not apparently, but widely considered to be one of the best movies ever made.
I think a 100 on Metacritic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the classic.
Right. So I heard that was the movie he was going to make. And it's going to be in black and white, and it's written by his late father. It's a movie that he wanted to make for 20 plus years, but no one would finance it because he wanted to make it in black and white. So he could only do it now with Netflix because Netflix finance everything. Any other studio won't, like Irishman or whatever. So I'm always honest, right? I was not excited about the premise of the movie. I would have wanted anything else from Fincher, right?
Yeah,
just give me anything else. But still, I was super excited about it. And people, when the reviews came in a couple of weeks ago, it's supposed to be great. Everyone loved it. So then I had the issue of like, The Sound of Metal is a movie that I am excited about because of its premise. Mank, I was excited about because of the director, not because of the premise. This is a film that I was excited about purely because of the premise. And I believe also that The Sound of Metal was a Toronto film when I was there. So that tells you how long ago that was. I think I was in Toronto. Over. Yeah. And it took, it was in September. So it took 15 months to be released. But then my point is this. I was like, should I just watch Mank for that to be my pick, right? If I don't watch anything else, I will not have a problem, like not picking a Fincher movie as my pick, right? That would be like horrendous. I couldn't do that. But then next week we're going to do a special episode, so we can't. I couldn't talk about it there, so I was like, no, let's watch it. And I was worried that it was going to be better than Mank because I can't pick anything other than Mank. So then I watched Mank first. And when Mank ended, I was like, oh gosh, I will enjoy The Sound of Metal more. I will.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I know. Yeah, hold on. But then I watched The Sound of Metal and I was like, okay, this is probably going to be better. But the more time passes, the more I enjoy Mank. So I'm now in a position where I genuinely don't know what to do. Because I feel like Mank is the better movie, but I enjoyed The Sound of Metal that tiny bit more.
I so agree with you.
But maybe we could do it that way, that if you pick The Sound of Metal as your pick, then I could pick Mank. I could feel good about myself.
Sure.
And then we can still play The Sound of Metal trailer as it is one of our picks.
You know sure, we can do that. Why
All
not?
right, my pick of the week is Mank. What a movie. What a movie. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Surprise of the week. Jesus Christ.
No, but I'm telling you, 10 seconds ago, I was going to pick The Sound of Metal.
I can't do that. I was unsure as well, but we can do this way, and I can feel good that we can talk about both films as the best thing.
Yeah. I feel like we're cheating a little bit because I think, if we're being honest, I think we might have both picked The Sound of Metal as our pick.
Well, I don't know.
You don't know?
Just as you said, the more I also think about Mank is kind of the better film, as in it's just so well made, and there's so many cool kind of things that I like about it, and I like how they did make it feel old just through the sound of it and through the pictures. And I think just that is just such a cool thing to do, and just a thing that you can probably just do with Netflix because most studios wouldn't allow it. But also Sound of Metal, the premise was just so interesting and so emotional. So I don't know, it's just...
Well, let's do it that way. And obviously things can change, and we can maybe address how we feel about it in a week.
Mhm.
Because
Sure.
once again, we saw both of those films less than 24 hours ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's all a bit raw, but let's do it that way. So let's talk about Mank first, as it's my turn to pick
Yeah,
first,
please.
right? I mean, where to even begin? But let's just pick up right where you what you said with the sound. I read some things about it too,
Mhm.
and it's just like Fincher, being the perfectionist that he is, he wanted everything to be original or whatever. I read that he had like the whole movie is like on one channel, like they did it in the old days. Now it's like everything is on multi-track channels with the soundtrack and the dialogue and the the ambience and whatever. And in this movie, they did it like I assume like they did it in the old days, which is all on one channel. And these are just the little things that David Fincher does, right? He demands 200 takes of actors who hate him after the 45th or whatever, but he keeps doing it because he keeps being the perfectionist that he is. I mean, you can read up about it. Just type in David Fincher and takes, and you can read stories about actors complaining about it. And the same with Mank, where Gary Oldman, he's like, I think there's a quote where he tells him like, David, I've done this scene like 100 fucking times. Like, what do you want from me? And Fincher's like, yeah, now you're gonna do it the 101st time. That's like his thing because he shoots digitally. That doesn't, you know what I mean?
Did he do it as well with this film? Because it would make sense for him to do this film on film.
See, what I think is, I think he shot it in digital, but he like, see, this is such a good question you asked because I forgot what it was now, but I read that he like scratched the movie, like, but he scratched certain parts of it, like physically, to make it look more like an old movie. But now I'm thinking, like, how can you scratch a digital movie?
Well, I guess there are like filters to make it look like you kind of scratch it, or
Right.
I mean, it's probably easier to do it in post production than to do it on film and then do it in post production. But
Right. No, I'm pretty sure he shot it digitally because that's also one of the reasons why he can afford to do 200 plus takes. He wouldn't be able to do that with the film, and that's like his. I've heard him talk about this as well on certain other movies, that he's like, I can do that. Digital movie cameras allow me to do that, and why shouldn't I do that? I mean, people. His philosophy is always like, people are there to like give their best work, and he's not going to stop until they delivered it from every single angle.
sounds very much like Kubrick.
Yeah, I mean that's a wow. Yeah, I would put the two in the same category.
I wouldn't.
I'm just looking up now. Mank. Okay, so they shot it with a red camera, which is like one of the staples. And Fincher, yeah, I think it's digital. Red, especially made black and white camera. The red Monstro monochrome, Monstrochrome
Jesus.
in brackets. Yeah, a mysterious black and white. Red is not the color, but the how to call the camera. But yeah, he shot it with that, and I mean, it looks like an old movie, doesn't it? And also,
Yeah.
It wasn't shot like, as I just said, it's shot in black and white. No color version of the movie exists. But let's talk about what it is about. I mean, I mentioned it before. It is about the writer and the writing of Citizen Kane, which is Herman Mankiewicz, played by Gary Oldman. And the movie Mank, as I said before, is written by Jack Fincher, who is David Fincher's late father. He passed away in 2003, but Fincher's been trying to make this movie for 20 plus years. And it tells the story of Mankiewicz sort of being injured from a car accident. He's just lying in bed, and he has to write a screenplay for Orson Welles, who's one of the biggest names back then. I guess still is. And his most famous movie is Citizen Kane, which Herman Mankiewicz was going to write. But then the movie also like flashes back all the time to the early 1930s and sort of tells the stories behind the inspiration of Citizen Kane. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. just I think also kind of is also an homage to Citizen Kane, which sadly I haven't watched, but it's also not told in a linear way, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct. But that's interesting. So you haven't watched it?
I wanted to, but well, I couldn't find it like on Prime or anywhere in the original English version, and then I had also a bit of stress just because of time. So I had to watch the second movie as well in the same day, and then I just said fuck it.
So do you feel like it was spoiled for you?
The film Citizen Kane?
Yeah.
Not at all.
It's so interesting because if you knew what to look for, it was completely spoiled.
I'm sure it was, and they do make a couple of they kind of talk about characters and how they kind of resemble other characters, and they talk about very specific scenes.
Yes.
A couple of scenes that I've heard about, like
pivotal
the sleds. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what to look out for, and I kind of tried not to listen too closely to those conversations. Plus, you have to say, in this film, they talk quite fast and quite intense. So, you could miss something so easily, and luckily I did some of the more spoilery scenes for Citizen Kane. But I think if you haven't seen Citizen Kane, you could still give it a watch, but I think I as well would have enjoyed it even more to kind of get all those references.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, one thing that was funny to me, right in the beginning of the movie, where Orson Welles calls Mankiewicz, he talks about like being on the set of Heart of Darkness, which is Apocalypse Now. He talks about turning Joe Conrad's book Heart of Darkness into a movie. And my bachelor thesis, I had to write two, and the first one was about Apocalypse Now. And in the documentary about it, which is called Heart of Darkness, they talk about Orson Welles trying to make the movie years and years before Coppola was able to do it. And that was right then I was like, okay, this is just genuinely a movie about film lovers. For film lovers. It's so obvious. I mean, just the whole, and I've heard stories before, like Mank is a movie that only cinephiles or movie lovers, movie enthusiasts are really going to enjoy.
Well, it's definitely not for like a casual audience.
Right. And just let me be clear, that's not saying like only people who watch a lot of movies should like understand what it is about. It's just like it is made for people who love these, like, how do I say this without like sounding, I don't want it to sound condescending because I wouldn't even include myself in it. I didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to. It just, help me out here. It's made for people who
are very quite interested in cinema and its history and in the infancy of Hollywood. Well, not infancy, I guess at that point it was in this kind of a golden age. But
yeah, for sure.
It's not just about that. One has to say. I mean, it's also about the politics behind all of it, which is very interesting, and how it's run by very rich people who have a very certain agenda and the power to change things for better or worse, just because they have that power.
Yeah. So what did you think about the movie? I mean, before we sort of wrap it up with what we both thought about it.
I mean, Mank, I think it was a good film. At first, I felt a bit lost, to be honest. It took a while to kind of get into the groove of the film and how it kind of told its story. And towards the end, I really enjoyed it. And I think just the way it was made and with like the sound, because the sound has a bit of an echoey effect.
Yeah,
like they did in older films, and I really enjoyed that fact. I think that just made it feel way more authentic and just a black and white. The way they did it just felt like an old black and white film, not just a filter one would put over a modern film.
Yes.
And in that way, I really enjoyed it. Some of the scenes...
well, they didn't need to use a filter because they used like the original equipment, right?
Yeah, sure. It's really cool. And yeah, some of the scenes I got kind of lost in just from the dialogue and what they talked about, especially since they talked about a couple of scenes in Citizen Kane, which I hadn't seen, so I couldn't quite identify with those scenes. But all in all, just very good performances. Not what I expected from a Fincher film, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's just a very cool film to watch in general. And just towards the end, especially with those politics scenes, I really enjoyed those.
I agree with the performances. I thought Oldman was fantastic.
Yeah.
And
Amanda Seyfried was also quite good.
Yeah. Across the board. I also really liked, I wrote this name down, Arliss Howard, who played L.B. Mayer.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was great with that Sorkin kind of dialogue scene where they talk. You know what I'm talking about?
The dinner table.
No. Where they walk, where
right.
his brother meets him for the first time, and then they walk across the lot.
When they go to the kind of stage where he gives his little speech.
Where he gives a speech. I love that guy.
Scene.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes, and that's like another thing. That is one of the rare scenes to me that stick out in Mank, and I wrote this down when I decided about what my pick was going to be. I struggled to find things that stood out to me and that really, really made me feel something in this movie. And that's not a good thing. But other things sort of compensated for that fact. First of all, I love the fact that he did like all the cigarette burns. Do you remember, like Fight Club-ish, where he
I thought it was kind of weird at first.
Yeah,
it looked a little fake, to be honest.
Maybe it's
at first.
Maybe
then you kind of get used to it, and then it gives you that old kind of feel, especially with that sound every time like the cigarette burn. Yeah, comes this crackle. Yeah,
and I also, as a Fincher fan, I really liked sort of identifying his like typical camera movements, and it was so evident when that was just I'm now going to talk about an absolute throwaway shot, but when I think it's Charlie who, when he first meets Mank and he's like sitting in this office and they're all like flipping coins and taking bets and stuff. And that was okay. See, that was another great scene where they like all pitch a movie and then they sort of give it to the new guy in the room. Charlie, what's the end of the movie? That was a great scene. I really enjoyed it.
Bit of Mad Libs movie.
Yeah, and at the end, like, and far away a preacher weeps or whatever. It's like,
great.
Oh, great. Perfect. Yeah. Have everything in this movie. Religion, monsters, or whatever. But in that scene in the office before, there's like when the phone rings and it's literally Fincher always, his camera moves along with the action of that the character takes. Like when the character moves forward, the camera moves forward, and you can watch that scene back maybe if you missed it. The phone, it stands on the table and he grabs it, and the camera literally, it's like he grabs the camera and it just pulls in like he's grabbing the camera. Such a Fincher shot, and I was like, I'm so proud of myself that I know that is Fincher. I could pick out that as a Fincher movie without like from that scene alone. That is, I'm sure other people do that too, but I associate him with that.
Yeah, it's kind of cool when you can pick out certain camera shots from directors.
Yeah.
Also with Denis Villeneuve, he's got a couple of very specific shots in most of his films, I feel like.
Yeah, I see. I wouldn't be able to. I don't think I would be able to point out a Villeneuve thing.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Those kind of wide shots.
Yeah, that's right. He only uses
in focus and then
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, now that we've talked quite a bit about Mank, you want to play a trailer, or maybe not?
Well, I don't have the trailer. That's the thing.
Maybe
with
we
Mank
do by Monday.
I unfortunately doubt it.
All right,
we could insert it here, but it's not going to happen. No, I'll wrap this up. Trailer. You're absolutely right. I'll wrap this up. I'll just say music is done once again by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. My favorite movie composers. Did Social Network, did many things with Fincher. And it was so weird not to hear like a distortion synthesizer soundtrack from them. That's all that sounds so like, that's not all they do, but that is sort of their thing that they do, and I love it every single time. But now obviously it wouldn't really fit in the 1930s and 40s, so they worked with I was like more normal instruments, I guess. Yeah, more standard instruments.
But the soundtrack was
it was good, right?
I loved it.
I didn't love it. It didn't really stick out to me. I enjoyed it in the scenes where Mank was sort of like up and funny, where he meets Amanda Seyfried's character for the first time, where she's like on this, she's about to get burnt or hung. Is it hung? It's hung. Right?
I think she's burnt at the stake.
Yeah, burnt. I like the music there. Really a feel good sort of up vibe.
I really like it when characters kind of get up to kind of do something. You get those very fast like jazzy sounds.
Yeah. So yeah.
But talking about Amanda Seyfried, I think it's kind of weird in retrospect, because I kind of looked a couple of things up about a couple of actors and actresses, well, the real ones, like Marion Davis, who was played by Amanda Seyfried.
Yeah.
And she was exactly the same age as Herman Mankiewicz.
Oh, was she? Wow.
And the actors are 27 years apart. I looked this up.
Yeah.
Yet they, look so different.
Yeah.
Although they are, the same age. Same with his real life wife, who was apparently also like born the same year as he was, but is like 20 to 30 years younger than Gary Oldman's character. Sorry.
Yeah, but Oldman is like in real life, he's what, like 62?
I think
and he also plays like a
I
guy
think
who's 43?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
1958. Maybe, he was born.
I think he's supposed to be like 40 something.
42. I think, he mentions at some point to Orson Welles that he's 42. But I mean, I could buy that more than like Amanda Seyfried
the same age.
supposed to be being 40.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Just to wrap this up, once again, I feel like Mank, if any other director made this movie, I wouldn't have even watched it. Maybe like, okay, there's a couple others that I would have watched it, but I watched this because it's a David Fincher movie. I liked the movie a lot. Also, we haven't mentioned like Charles Dance. I think he's great in the movie too. And there's some other good performances.
So many British actors.
Yeah.
Lily Collins.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I thought she was good.
Yeah, she was cool.
I liked her. And also, as you said, I think his wife is played by Florence, what's her name? Tippleton. She was in A Fisherman's Friends, if you remember that. Florence
I
Tupperton.
googled her after the film ended, and I did not recognize her, to be honest. But
I got the wrong name. Oh gosh, here we go. Oh, 2 seconds. Tuppence Middleton. Sorry, not Florence Tuppleton. Okay, whatever. And I liked Mank. I will have to think about it more. I liked it. It didn't blow me away. I'm just so happy that David Fincher made a new movie. And he has signed a contract with Netflix for the next 4 years. So I'm hoping there'll be more things soon.
Yeah, I mean,
let's talk about your pick.
Next 4 years he's with Netflix. But yeah, my pick by default, I guess.
Last thing, I found the last thing. The very end, I had goosebumps all over my body of Mank.
With I don't want to spoil it.
No, don't spoil it. But just the very last scene. I thought it was beautifully performed by Oldman too.
Yeah, it was very sweet.
Yeah.
I wonder, because there's this kind of sound clip that sounds kind of off.
Yes.
I wonder if that's a real Mank. Like,
I was wondering the same thing. Yeah, I didn't look it up.
All right. Well, Mank, great film, and the other film that we both watched yesterday, which is the film that I started about midnight. So I finished about 10 hours ago.
It was that one, okay.
And The Sound of Metal. We've mentioned this before, and it's got Riz Ahmed in the leading role as a heavy metal drummer who loses his hearing quite early in the film, or starts to lose it quite fast. Starts off with a bit of tinnitus, and then he does hear you voices and sounds, but he can't understand them anymore. He can't separate words from another. And it's directed by Darius Marder, who I think we talked about this before.
Yeah, you mentioned
Sound of Metal. He was a writer of The Place Beyond the Pines, which we rank quite high on both Ryan Gosling's list and on Bradley Cooper's. Yeah. And apparently this film was supposed to be made by Derek Cianfrance, the director of The Place Beyond the Pines, and he's been meaning to do this film for years. And I think maybe he even filmed it before, but never got it out of post-production.
Okay.
And then it was kind of scrapped, and then with the blessing of Derek Cianfrance, Darius Marder tried to do it again. And Derek Cianfrance is also a producer of the film. And this film is just so well made. And if I can say anything about this film, first of all, just watch it with headphones on. It makes a world of difference, I think. Because you kind of hear what he hears, and you kind of get this feeling of tinnitus, and then it's completely silent all of a sudden. And it was so weird because I listened to it with headphones, and for a second I was like, dude, am I deaf? Can I hear anything?
But that's very interesting. I don't think it's like supposed to be listened to on headphones, right? It's made for the big screen.
Well,
I get your point.
Maybe. I mean, sure, it is made for the big screen, and it was supposed to be released in cinemas. But I think it just adds this layer of
I can see
intensity and I think I read somewhere this film is supposed to give you the feeling of gradually you losing your hearing.
Oh, it completely did that to me.
And
it was so well done.
Yeah, and you get a little paranoid, to be honest. Yeah. And that's so cool because the film is just about him having to come to terms with losing his hearing, because he's an addict, an heroin addict who's clean now, but his whole kind of world getting shattered because he can't continue to do music, especially not heavy metal drumming, because
Yes.
that's probably what's fucked up this hearing in the first place.
Yeah.
And having to go out to a place for addicts and people hard of hearing to kind of, deal
to live
with
with
his
it, yeah.
life. Yeah, and it is so sweet. And there are a couple of scenes which are just heartbreaking. A couple of goodbyes and a couple of just characters interacting with each other. And it's not as grand as Mank, as and also how the actors kind of interact with each other. There's just a lot of scenes of people doing everyday stuff and talking, and it's so sweet. And
doesn't it feel like a Derek C. and Friends movie?
So much,
right?
So much.
And I mean, he almost looks like Ryan Gosling and with the like tattoos.
With the bleach, yeah. I mean, sure. I mean, I guess Darius Marder got a lot of inspiration from Derek C. and Friends, and maybe C. and Friends also kind of helped with the film, especially since it was originally his project.
Yeah,
and I think that's what also makes this film so appealing. Just like in Place Beyond the Pines, there are just so many just scenes of them just talking, having those moments of slight connection, like in Sound of Metal when he kind of draws the tattoo for the other deaf woman.
Yes,
they kind of talk about pubic hair. It's such a cool scene, I think.
Yeah,
and I think I'm not a huge fan of Riz Ahmed. I think I've told you this before.
Yes,
and I absolutely loved him in this. He
was great. Yeah,
favorite film of his, or like his favorite performance. And I think Olivia Cook, who plays Gotham, was also very good.
I was hoping to see her in more scenes, Olivia Cook. Yeah. I like her as an actress.
She's
Ready Player One, and also a great movie.
Earl and the Dying Girl.
Yes, Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, let's play a clip of the trailer, right?
Yeah, let's go.
You sounded great.
Yeah, right.
What? You telling me you weren't feeling it? You were in it.
We don't need to put them all out.
I know, but we just need to film.
Your hearing is deteriorating rapidly.
We'll come back. Till then, Lou, we just keep going, okay?
No.
Lou,
no.
Let's play tomorrow. Let's see what it's like, okay? I'm gonna be like a click track. You can play to me.
You have to understand, your first responsibility is to preserve the hearing you have.
I can't hear you. Do you understand me? I can't. I'm deaf. I'm deaf.
All right. Well, I hope this trailer was good. To be honest, I haven't listened to it yet. So
yeah,
but
it's gonna be good.
I hope it's not just drumming for your sake, or just nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure it's a good trailer, and please do check it out. It's an Amazon Prime film.
Right.
It didn't not come out in cinemas, sadly. It was supposed to, but yeah.
Yeah, I feel like picking up on the point that you made earlier earlier a couple of seconds ago. Well, we include the trailer like 2 minutes ago. Riz Ahmed, I like him. I don't like. I've only seen him in a couple of things where he really impressed me, and the main one being The Night Off, which is a limited series in which he was absolutely great.
Yeah, I read about it yesterday or today, because once you look up a couple of Riz Ahmed films, now that I like him.
Yeah,
and
now
this is also
like,
like the first thing that really stood out.
Yeah,
it looked very cool.
Nightcrawler, right?
Sure, for sure. Yeah, that as well.
But he's got a
very smaller
part in that. Yeah.
But you're right. I kind of forgot about that. He's very cool in Nightcrawler as well.
Yeah. I thought when The Sound of Metal started, I was like, okay, Mank, you're gonna have a hard time here being my pick of the week, because I loved the opening, like the sort of whiplashy thing. Not just because it's a drummer, but it felt very much like a certain scene out of Whiplash.
Mm-hmm.
But then the scene in the RV when he gets up early and he makes coffee and he makes a smoothie.
Mm-hmm.
I love the way, filmmaking wise, they used that again a couple of minutes later. It was so well done, because it's not like said, it's just implied, and you know exactly what is going on. And throughout that whole movie, I was like, holy shit, what if this is going to happen to me? just one day you wake up, or just from one moment to another, and your hearing just starts getting gradually worse. It's just so horrible.
Stressed me out so much because I do have a bit of tinnitus from now and then towards the end there's a very silent scene.
Yes.
So if you have headphones, you can't really hear anything. And the only thing that I could hear was a bit of tinnitus, and I wasn't sure it was from the film or from my ears. It turned out to be from my ears. So yeah, it stressed me out quite a bit.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed The Sound of Metal, and as you said before, also the community that he then reluctantly joins because he doesn't really have anywhere else to go. But then it's really just about him accepting the fact that he probably won't get his hearing back, and even though he tries. And I heard a lot of people say that the guy who plays Joe is sort of the standout.
He is quite good.
Wasn't he good? I mean, I assume that all of those... That's interesting as well. I didn't look this up. I assume that all of those people are actually deaf.
Joe, I think, isn't. I think
Joe
I
isn't.
looked his character up, or the actor, and I think so. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think that he's deaf. I assume some of the others are, but I'm not sure.
I mean, if he isn't, then he played it even better. I thought he was. I mean,
his voice is quite clear, but then again, if you lose
True.
one's hearing in the course of one's life and not at the very beginning, it kind of makes sense, I guess.
I thought he was great. His Paul. I have no idea how to pronounce his name.
Omeleto.
Raci. Racy. Raki. Paul Racy. I thought he was really good, and as you said before, I think Riz Ahmed is terrific, and Olivia Cook is good, and a very weird cameo of a French actor during the last 20 minutes.
Yeah,
a pretty acclaimed French actor. I don't know why. Yeah, he is. Yeah, I don't know why he is involved in this movie as a tiny part. But
well, I know Derek Cianfrance has some connections.
Right.
Very bad pun. All right.
Right.
Yeah, but a lot of people who are there do not see hearing as a handicap, and that it's not a problem to be fixed, because of course there are surgeries and kind of treatments that you could kind of undertake to make it a bit better. But
it's so crazy though how expensive these things are, right? You lose your hearing,
Dude,
you want to get it back, you got to pay 80 grand. I mean,
40, 80 grand. No fucking health insurance covers it, which is
it's just ridiculous
shit. But who knows? Maybe that's just an America thing. It often is with like health insurance. So good to be in socialist Europe.
Goodbye to all of our Republican listeners. America.
Dude, like Mank says in Mank, socialism we share the riches, and communism we share the poverty.
Yeah,
I'll take socialism. It's getting very political.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is a way more accessible movie than Mank. It is a way more straightforward movie than Mank. As you said before as well, Mank sort of is told in circles. Well, not in circles, but through flashbacks, and it doesn't have a linear structure. The Sound of Metal is a very accessible, normal, linear movie that I think a lot of people listening to this would enjoy more than Mank.
It's got more of a typical story arc.
That's right.
And what's interesting about Mank, which we also did not mention, is because he is a screenwriter, and so every time you see a kind of a flashback, it opens with interior there, exterior there, day or night, and the year the set in, like one would write in a screenplay,
which annoyed me.
Right? Yeah.
I don't know why they put flashback in there.
Because one would write that, I guess, in a screenplay. Maybe that's also what it says in a couple of pages on Citizen Kane.
It just felt like, listen, stupid audience, we're flashing back right now. You know what I mean?
I think it was more meant as a joke. So here's a flashback. I
don't want to say this now because it's a spoiler a little bit, but I now have sort of a different explanation as to why they used it. I'll let you know off air.
All right.
No, not anything like nothing extraordinary or
film peer. Let's go.
Yeah.
But
yeah, check it out. I mean, it's as you said, The Sound of Metal is on Amazon Prime right now. Mank is on. What's up?
Look at the two platforms battling each other.
Yeah. Well, one of them gave us a trailer. Netflix. Mank is on Netflix, and I forgot what the first thing you said was. What was it
Night
called?
in Camp Heebie Jeebie on YouTube.
Yeah, no, I know, but I just forgot what it was called.
Yeah.
On the egg channel, right?
Yeah, the egg
Omelette-
channel.
the
Omeleto.
channel. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
That's perfect, yeah.
Right. I'm happy we got through this episode because I was worried about this one. I'm happy with the way that we did it now.
I think, yeah, I'm as well. And it is a very cool weekend. I think we've both been looking forward to this.
Yes,
So-
absolutely. And I'm honestly like looking forward to being able to sort of think about the movies more a little bit now, because it's very like you cram 2 movies in a day and then you sort of try to figure out your thoughts about it, and
Yeah.
it's difficult, but yeah, we can talk about it again next week. I mean, next
Yeah.
week's going to be a special episode.
Yeah, there's still a lot to have to watch, but
Yeah.
yeah. I'm looking forward to actually rewatching Mank once I've seen Citizen Kane.
Yes, I hope it's going to be released on Blu-ray, which is
Mank?
rare for
Yeah.
Netflix releases.
Yeah.
Maybe on a Criterion or something. But I agree, and I want to see behind the scenes of Fincher yelling at actors for the 200th take. I think it's very beautiful that he sort of got the movie made for his father.
Yeah, it's very cool. And it's cool that now he has a deal with Netflix, although
Yeah.
like Netflix isn't like the be all end all, because cinema releases are very cool, but it's cool that he has kind of a free hand now. He can do whatever he wants.
Well, it was supposed
much.
to be like all of those Netflix releases nowadays are supposed to also be released in cinemas, like limited.
All right. Yeah. Limited, all right, yeah.
Same with Mank, was supposed to come out, I think, in November, but
Mhm.
unfortunately now, obviously
Yeah.
not. And now, I mean, I don't know if you saw this, but Warner Brothers, their entire release is now in America, like being put on home video as well as
Yeah.
in the cinema, like Dune and Wonder Woman. And
Yeah, everything
all
is on HBO Max, which
we don't have.
sucks. Yeah.
But anyway, I hope you enjoy this week's episode.
Yeah.
3, but I've only seen the 2. 2 really interesting, and I like the word grand that you mentioned before. I think Mank is a very grand movie, and Sound of Metal is a very interesting movie as well as Mank. I think you can
It's
definitely check out both.
the very grand versus a very intimate movie, which is
Very true. Please, Gabe, there was one other thing that I wanted to say, and I forgot what it was. Maybe you do the sign off, and maybe I'll think about it.
all right.
I'll think.
Well, if you enjoyed the episode and you've stuck around till the very end, thank you so much. It's so great to have people listening, and I think some of you know who you are. Thank you for listening to pretty much every episode. That's means so much to us. And if you want to find us on any other platform, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube under Best Thing We've Seen Podcast. You can also find us at Best Thing Radio on Instagram or Twitter. And on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, you can see the cover art that Flo designs every week, which experienced the light change in the last
it
week.
experienced the change, yeah.
So yeah, check it out. Maybe let us know what you think about it. Let us know what you think about the podcast in general. If you have any suggestions or any feedback, we would love to hear from you. Maybe a like, maybe a subscribe, maybe a review, anything you can do, maybe a comment would help out a great deal. And yeah, once again, thank you so much for listening. And back to you.
Yeah, please, the best thing, I can't think of it now, but the best thing you can, we talk about the best thing we've seen, but the best thing you can do is just tell someone about the podcast. If you know someone who loves it, who loves movies, like you do, and like I do, and like the listeners do, then just tell them about us. Maybe they'll give us a go.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
Yes, it would be grand.
It's a new catchphrase.
It's going to bother me that I can't think of the last thing, but maybe we'll talk about it next week, maybe, if I can think about it. Have a good week.
Yeah, have a good week and see you on the special. Bye.
You'll hear us.
You hear us. Fuck.
Bye-bye.
Bye.